So, here we are with the second Crusader episode of Season 6, and The Fault in Our Marks was interesting. If you haven't seen my review of On Your Marks, I really adored how touching and relatable it was, especially for people who don't know what to do after they accomplish a certain goal. And while that wasn't my favorite CMC episode, it would have sufficed more than enough for CMC episodes this season. I don't want to be drowned in them, too much of a good thing can turn bad in a heartbeat. Yet 15 episodes later in Season 6, The Fault in Our Marks capitalized not only on Your Marks, but it was a great second sequel to Crusaders of the Lost Mark, and feels like such a natural third act if you count Crusaders of the Lost Mark, On Your Marks, and now The Fault in Our Marks as a sort of trilogy. But what about it made it a good third act? Let's take a closer look. The episode really couldn't have begun any better. At the end of On Your Marks, Applebloom helped Tender Taps with his special talent, and that was only the beginning for what the Crusaders' own special talent was. In here, it felt like such a perfect continuation with the trio out and about helping the parents of a filly named Petunia figure out what her cutie mark meant. Seeing them use their special purpose was such a great sight to see because Applebloom, Scootaloo, and Sweetie Belle felt sort of like a mini main six by being sought out by Petunia's parents to ease their worries or just by answering any questions other kids or parents may have. This is great development for the Crusaders, and I hope to see more episodes of them solving cutie mark problems. Plus, the opening scene was pretty funny with Scootaloo being blasted in the face with sand and dirt and Petunia's parents worried that she'd turn out to be a pirate because of her skull and bones cutie mark. And now, Gabby. When she first appeared, I hadn't a clue she'd be so enthusiastic. And at first, I was worried she'd become overbearing and somewhat obnoxious with how loud and bubbly her character was, but the writers managed to keep her ebullience in check and around Pinkie Pie levels. In fact, because her enthusiasm was kept at a certain level, she turned out to be pretty adorable. I really enjoyed the stark contrast Gabby was to Gilda and the rest of the Griffins. I mean, not all of them could be selfish and greedy, right? Although, I will admit Gabby came extremely close to venturing into Mary Sue territory with how many things she was good at, but thankfully the writers knew when to rein her character back to keep her both believable and adorable. In addition, her willingness to try anything to get her cutie mark is something good for kids to learn. They shouldn't get their hopes up, but if you really want something, you have to go in with a positive attitude. It makes things better for everyone. And I thoroughly enjoyed seeing a flashback of Gabby watching Pinkie and Rainbow Dash interact with and sort of change the attitude of Gilda from the lost treasure of Griffinstone. I just love continuity. However, if anyone actually did find Gabby annoying, I completely understand and I wouldn't argue with anyone. One of my favorite things about the episode has to be when Gabby painted the mark on her flank. Yeah, I could kinda see it coming that she might try that, but it wasn't nearly as bad as the obvious plot point from last week's episode. In fact, it wasn't bad at all. Both Sweetie Belle and Twilight's freakouts because of it was hilarious, and it was revealed to be a fake rather quickly with the Dr. Hooves cameo. What I loved about it so much is that the instant the paint started running, Gabby fesses right away instead of trying to BS an excuse out of it. But that's not all. It was rather touching how she painted a cutie mark for the benefit of the Crusaders so they wouldn't feel like failures. Gabby could see how hard Applebloom, Scootaloo, and Sweetie Belle worked to try and get her a cutie mark and didn't want their track record to be ruined. It's a really sweet gesture on her part that led to realizations from both crowds. The Crusaders learned that you won't be able to succeed every time. Yes, according to the episode, they've helped a few other ponies in town with their cutie mark crises and are referred to as the experts for situations such as this. But there comes a time where no matter how hard you try, success is just unreachable. And that's not a bad thing. They put forth their best effort until literally everything had been tried to no avail, and that's really all that matters. One failure every once in a while isn't the end of the world. And Gabby learned a harsh truth that you can work your butt off towards something, and even if you're talented at it, that doesn't mean you'll obtain what you want. It's good to have dreams and work toward fulfilling them, but just because you work hard doesn't necessarily mean they'll come true. But at least she got an honorary cutie mark, which was a sweet gesture as well. Out of all this, I have but one minor complaint, and that's the song used halfway through the episode. It wasn't terrible whatsoever, but it wasn't necessarily astounding either. I think it would have been just fine to use the montage and use the normal song that the show uses for montages every now and then, the same one that Pinkie claims is her jam back in Party of One. It's a personal issue though, a song has to be fairly spectacular for me to enjoy it, but again, it's a very minor issue that doesn't detract from the episode in any way. So what more can be said about The Fault in Our Marks? I enjoyed pretty much every minute of it. Despite Gabby bordering on being a Mary Sue and the whole song issue, it was a fantastic episode that showed the Cutie Mark Crusaders developing into a sort of mini main six, with how they help other fillies and colts, or in some instances their parents, with cutie mark problems. And it had a very good moral, not only about how you won't be successful every time or how you won't always obtain a goal you've worked your heart out for, but what a special purpose really means. It's not just about being talented at something, but how passionate you are about something. Gabby may have only earned an honorary cutie mark, but sometimes you don't need to have an award or a commemoration to remind you of what you're good at as long as you have the heart to back up what you love doing. The Fault in Our Marks has earned a green flag rating for me, and even the spot of my second favorite Crusaders episode right behind Crusaders of the Lost Mark, and I can't wait to see what other problems the Crusaders get to tackle next. But what's your opinion on the episode? I'm MrLeftTurn. I'll see you when I get back from the track.